Hi, folks. It's Keith Beardsley of the Beardsley Real Estate Team here today with step number 8 for first time buyers going through the process for the first time. I'm just going to give you a quick discussion on the type of clauses that you're going to see in most offers, and certainly in country offers. There's always a couple of extra ones that get thrown in. If you're in a city where you've got municipal water, municipal sewer, and so on, that's different. And you can see that in some of the country communities as well, where there's relatively new subdivisions. But a lot of you will be buying country property outside of these subdivisions, and even in some of these subdivisions, this will apply as well. So, what are we looking at? So, there's a section on the. So, what are we talking about when we talk about clauses? So, there's a section on the offer forms that we use. It starts on page 6. And it's basically big blank. And this is where your agent or your lawyer, depending on who you're using, will sit down and fill in the clauses that they think are important. So these are things that are important for you. Most of them are going to be things for you to do. In some cases, you're making requests. For instance, I always put in a clause that on closing, the seller will leave the house broom clean so that it's not an absolute mess when you move in. Little things like that can get in there. They can put clauses in, leave the light bulbs, leave the blinds, whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of things. But there are 5 biggies. The 5 main ones that I like to put in every offer, I just call it the country 5. So number 1 is a finance clause. And this is one that basically says it's your responsibility. Buyer pays. Buyer pays for all of these. It's your responsibility to get to your bank, make sure they will finance the house, and you're given so many days. Now, I've seen offers that come in with 5 or 6 days, but I find the banks right now and even the other mortgage companies very, very slow. So a lot of the time, people are giving 10 days, 12 days. We're talking for most part business days here, not weekends, to get that finance clause done. So it's an important one because if you've been pre-approved some time ago and you now go to the bank and you say, I want to make sure we can afford this, the bank's going to run a quick check on you and try to make sure that everything is still good. And they may come back to you and say, no, we can't afford that house. So that's a very key clause. Another clause, of course, home inspection, right? We talk about this all the time. Have someone who knows what they're doing come in and do a professional home inspection of the house. And this is your right to ask for this. If someone denies it or won't let you put it into an offer, or if the seller keeps taking it out, I'd be very concerned because you're entitled to a home inspection. Number 3, now there's that other big one, septic inspection. Now, no septic inspection on a house is ever going to be 100% perfect. There's always little things they're going to point out to you. But you have to make sure that that septic system is functioning the day you move in, and make sure if you've never lived in the country and you've never used a septic inspection, make sure you know that once you move in, what you're allowed to put down the drain. In other words, you don't put fat down, you don't put coffee grains down. So these are things you need to know. Like I said, I do have a brochure on some of that. The fourth one is simply an insurance one. You need time to talk to your insurance company and make sure they'll insure the property. All right. Now, obviously, the house has some insurance. It has to have insurance for the bank. Your insurance company will give you essentially a certificate saying that, yes, they can insure the house, and you're going to have it insured on closing day. And then, matter of fact, the seller will have to have it insured on closing day. So there's a little bit of an overlap there, but you're going to need that for your mortgage. And going back to the other clause on the septic inspections, many banks insist on that well if it's an older home. Number 5, not one that we generally think about offhand, but it's an important one. You need a water test, right? Your water has to be drinkable in that house. So what you're going to end up doing, and say every one of these clauses have one of those timelines. It's got to be done by such a date at such and such a time. So for the water test, generally your agent is going to go into the house, make an appointment, go into the house, and he's going to, there's special bottles that are used by the provincial labs and that. He's going to take a water sample, and then he's going to get that sample to a lab, which is going to test it. And that can take, if it's a really busy time of the year, can take, a few days. But right now, they're doing them in 2 to 3 days. So you've got to allow time for that to happen, and you've got to get that test as a good one, right? Because they will come back and they will say your water test has passed or failed. If it failed, you know, what are you going to do? Well, in some cases, you can take another test. It might just be that there's been nobody living in that house for quite a while, and the water has just sat in the tank. So there are ways, you can do a second test or even a third test. Ask for a change in the time so you have a little, few extra days to get it done. But if you're in the country, you need that water test. It's absolutely, absolutely crucial. So there you go. A quick summary of some of the clauses that we use out here in the country. They're all important. They're all there, and they all have time limits. Time limits for you to get answers and for you to get approvals. Keith Beardsley of the Beardsley team wishing you a great day.